You also think everybody's...
I appreciate y'all so much, and I fucking can't wait to make it to the final five with y'all boys.
Fuck yeah.
I love y'all. 1, 2, 3, Burger Boys!
Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Legs, and I would greatly appreciate it if you would consider supporting the channel by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. It helps get the videos out there, and it inspires me to keep creating. A huge thank you to all of you guys that constantly support the channel, constantly comment, constantly like, constantly interact. It all really does help the videos to grow further and for the channel to do better. Anyways, today we are going to be talking about another day in the Big Brother house. This is day, I believe, 8 or 9 in the house, but it is day, 3 of the feeds. This is going to be the feeds for the 15th of July. And again, we had a lot of mess yesterday. There was a lot of people who are paranoid, a lot of people who don't feel safe anymore, a lot of people who realize maybe I should actually play the game and try to build relationships with people. A lot of previously safe people who thought that they should be doing a little bit more. So let's jump into it. Let's get into it. Lots to talk about. Again, each day has been jam-packed. So to catch you guys up to speed a little bit, our current HOH is Vince. His initial 3 nominees were Amy, Ashley, and Zay. Ashley did win the veto, and she took herself off and was replaced by Kelly. Now, we saw on the CBS show that Kelly essentially volunteered, or at least made it seem like she was okay with being put up by Vince. We are all, I think for the most part, very confused about why Vince wanted to go with Kelly. His rationale is that he didn't want to alienate another person. It says Kelly's in his alliance. She would just go up as a pawn, I guess, essentially. I don't really know what Vince's plan was, and we all are pretty lost and puzzled by it. But at this point, Kelly has since regretted the fact that she is actually on the block. She did try before the veto ceremony yesterday to talk to Vince a little bit and even push for Keanu to go up. And there was definitely a few other people who had Keanu's name in their mouth, Jimmy, and some other people in, you know, around the house. But ultimately, it did not work. Kelly is on the block, and we are going onward and upward into the BB Blockbuster, which is happening on Thursday. A lot of conversations in the house have revolved around, well, who are we keeping? Who's gonna go? Are we keeping Amy? Are we keeping Kelly? Is it best to actually get out Kelly for my game? Should we actually keep Zay because he's well liked and he's a bigger target? There was a lot of conversation surrounding that, so let's jump into this house. So morning rolls around, and Lauren sort of catches wind that people in the house are assuming that she and Zach are a thing. So she's actually in the backyard talking to Morgan and letting her know, we are not together. We're not in a showmance. This is not a thing. Apparently some incident happened where Ashley came into the bathroom last night and it was just the two of them, and Ashley made some kind of comment like, oh, I'll just leave you guys alone. I'll just leave you guys alone. Now, I don't think that Lauren and Zach have a showmance. There's no indicator that it's going down that route. And sometimes maybe 2 attractive people can kind of be bucketed into this showmance bucket. I don't see that. So as of right now, Lauren wants to clear the air. And remember Morgan is like, oh, well, I think Zach definitely likes her, but I want to make sure Zach thinks with the right head. So I'm actually going to counter flirt to try to make sure that Zach is talking to me. I'm like, okay, Morgan, is it that, or do you actually like him? Also, the Burger Boys Alliance is formed. This is with Zach, Will, Vince, Zay, and Riley. They have a little handshake. They have everything going on. Add that to the alliance list. And again, if you're Will, especially, I feel like you're sitting pretty. If you're Will, you're Zach, you're sitting very pretty. You're part of a lot of different alliances. Even Riley, though I don't know, because some people in the heavy hitters are a little irritated with Riley. Morgan and Vince, they are going over what it would actually look like if Zay gets out of the house. For Vince, once again, he is reassuring that he really wants to keep Kelly. He really wants to keep Kelly. And again, Vince, this is a choice of your own doing. You did not have to put up your alliance member. I will continue to say that because I think that is one of the worst moves in Big Brother, to put up your alliance member as a pawn, especially when there's a high chance that your alliance member might be going home. Anyway, Morgan's like, well, if you get out, Zay, just remember what it's gonna look like if your boy goes home. You know that some people are gonna think and see things a certain way. Anywho, Morgan talks about how she would potentially throw the HOH for Will next week, and they just have a lot of generalized game talk. Again, there's a lot of conversation throughout the day trying to sway people different ways, trying to sway people to vote in a certain direction, having people to look at the bigger picture of things. So Rachel, Ashley, Mickey, and Amy.
He did say that.
I don't need that.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
that's
need that.
another reason why we need to get rid of what.
I agree with that.
I agree. I'm just saying, if we can.
So remember, this is the Girls Alliance, and they want to make sure to keep Amy. Rachel is kind of at the head of that snake. She really, really wants Amy to stay in the house. And once again, Rachel is trying to reassure the entire group that they have the votes to keep Amy. They have the votes to keep Amy. Ashley is a little bit skeptical, though. Ashley is like, I'm gonna be honest. Unless you guys are 100% sure you have the votes, I gotta be honest, I'm not gonna vote this direction. I do not want to be the odd one out. I do not want to be the one person who voted the wrong way and then Zay stays here and I am a target. Because at the end of the day, Zay's gonna know how people voted. People keep bringing up that the vote's anonymous, no one knows for sure. But let's be for real, people know who voted for who. And I do agree on that front with Ashley that it's gonna be very evidently clear the people who decided to go against Zay, especially because Zay has been being told by different people different things. I think he's gonna have a fair idea. And as Ashley said, or at the minimal least, he's going to just assume that it was the girls that did not vote for him. Especially because some of the girls like Morgan were just flat out honest, like, yeah, I'm not gonna vote for you, Zay, I'm sorry. So Ashley and Amy actually have a secondary conversation out of this.
That way. And Zay promises safety, and he's more likely to win a HOH than Kelly.
I need a man that I feel like has my back, and I feel like Zay will.
And they both want Zay out. Obviously. I mean, if you're Amy, you want anyone out who's not you. But Ashley is basically explaining how she does not really feel like Zay would be gunning for her specifically. She doesn't really feel like Zay is a huge target, and she's very unsure of where Kelly's head is actually at with things. She does feel like Rachel is kind of pushing to keep, to do what she wants to do for her game specifically, but is that really something that I should do for my game? And again, I can't fault people in the house for thinking for themselves and having a little bit of question to certain things. I think sometimes with returning players, it's very easy for people to just blindly do what they do. So I can't say that I don't appreciate Ashley a little bit talking about different things. They do both talk about how in the future they would like to get Zay out. It's not that Zay's gonna stay there forever, but immediately it may not make the most sense to go for Zay. They get on to talking about the next HOH and they both say they're gunning to win, though Ashley does say that she wants the veto, and if she sees she will or Mickey up, she will drop. And again, why are so many people saying they want to throw the HOH? Why? Why are so many people not wanting to play to win the game? Zay and Zach are talking, and once again, Zay talks about how he feels like he has all of the votes. However, if one of the girls win HOH, he feels like he's going right back up. And we slowly throughout the Zay see Zay become less and less and less confident as he has conversations. But at this present moment, at least he's still going around the house telling everybody, I got the votes, I got the votes, I got the votes, I got the votes. So Rachel, Mickey, and Morgan, they also have a conversation, and Morgan straight up says, I want to keep Zay in.
Zay has just been like,
it's not even about that. Zay is just playing.
yes.
It's whoever.
And because
So keep that in mind. There is a whole chunk of people. So far we have Morgan, Ashley, Amy. They all want to keep Zay in the house. And they feel like he is pretty well liked anyway. It doesn't really matter. What is actually the purpose of getting Zay out other than this potential, oh, he's a big guy and he might be a threat? So for Morgan, she's not that sure how to talk to Kelly when the time comes. So Morgan and Rachel, small conversation. They essentially confirm that they are working with Mickey and Jimmy. And again, they have a lot of conversations. One thing that these house guests are doing is a lot of going through scenarios, counting out votes again. If this happens, this happens. And you know what? I do feel like it makes for fairly interesting game talk having the blockbuster, because there's no just, well, this person's on the block and they're definitely going home. Oh, well, we're going to ignore them for the week. I do feel like it causes people to think, but sometimes on these feeds, we do get some repetitive conversations. However, Ashley, Mickey, Jimmy, them three have a conversation.
So if it's like, and you can shoot this down and say it's a bad idea, But I think like just for safety, collecting a few numbers where we don't really meet a whole lot, but it's...
So Jimmy essentially proposes that he wants to work with the two of them, and he also wants to sort of gather up a few numbers where it's not necessarily an alliance, but it's more of a truce. You know, if we're all voting, if one of us is HOH, we can ensure that we're not going up. Also, when it comes to votes, if we all want something to be done, we're all going to vote a certain way, basically. So he proposes that he wants him, Will, Vinny, Ashley, Morgan, Rachel, and potentially Catherine and Lauren. And, you know, it's a few too many people. Let's just say that, first of all, it's a few too many people. I think that when proposing this to the girls, they're a little bit like, so that's a lot of numbers. We might need to shave this down quite a little bit. So they start to kind of debate out of Lauren and Catherine who would actually be the one that they want. Jimmy says that he would prefer Lauren. Mickey is not really sure about Catherine. She's not really sure where her head is at. She hasn't had a lot of conversation with her. So it sounds like she's also leaning towards Lauren. But at the end of the day, Jimmy does say that he does actually trust Catherine and want to talk with her to see about it. Mickey straight up says, look, I'm putting a lot of trust in you, but I don't really trust her like that. So you're going to have a conversation with her. I mean, Catherine right now, she's a wild card. She doesn't really have a lot of alliances. The biggest thing that I've seen personally is Catherine sort of talking with Rachel a little bit. And that was still like night 2, night 1. So not too sure at that point, but Mickey says that she will go talk to Will about the alliance, which we'll see in a little bit. Jimmy and Ashley, they once again get into how Kelly is not campaigning. That's a huge thing throughout the day, that Kelly has not campaigned. Kelly has not talked to people. It doesn't even seem like she cares to talk to certain people. Her bags are already packed. And Jimmy is like, look, I'm gonna be honest. It's probably because she thinks that it's probably because she personally is trying to work with Keanu. So she doesn't want to work with them because it seems like it's kind of opposing sides. So she doesn't even want to bother with them because she's already going to work with Keanu. Brief scene of Morgan to Riley in the shower. She says, you, me, Vince, Rachel, Jimmy. I assume she's talking about an alliance, but she could also be talking about votes. A lot of people are throwing out random votes about different stuff, or random alliances, I should say. So we see that. Ava is talking to the diary cam, or talking to the camera in general. And Ava's been having a little bit of a hard time. She starts crying because she misses her boyfriend. She starts crying because she's having a hard time. She starts crying because she doesn't remember people's names. And it just seems like the stress and the strain of being in the Big Brother house is getting to Ava a little bit. And I could definitely understand, you know, you're from New York City, you're used to being around a lot of people, you're used to being out and about, but girl, it is early days and you're already struggling with being in the house. It's only week 1 for y'all. So, okay. So Kelly and Adrian, she pulls him aside for a little talk.
But Rachel just came up to me outside and said, we're getting votes to get Zay out.
And Kelly's basically like, look, if something absolutely insane happens, guess what? Amy is the target fully. If it's me versus Zay, it's 50-50. But Rachel came up to me and she told me they're gathering the votes to get out Zay and keep me. So do you think I should believe that? Do you think that's true? Do you think that's actually a thing? Adrian's like, oh, you know Adrian, he don't really know what's going on. Neither does Kelly, for the record. But Adrian is like, well, I mean, I think I've heard some things around the house. I'm not fully sure. I don't know. But Kelly's like, well, in either case, Rachel is keeping Amy no matter what. But it just might be a little more split if it's me versus Zay. Just letting you know. These two. Vince and Riley are in the HOH, and once again, they're counting the votes to keep Kelly, and Riley lets him know that he has so many boys to back him up if he actually does keep Kelly. I don't know, whatever. I just really have a very low pity for Vince because this was a move that didn't need to be made. So Ava and Will, they're talking in the have-not room, and Will is just trying to confront Ava because she was crying. At the end of the day, They are very happy with the solid group they have going on, especially Ava. Will's like, yeah, me too. They do discuss the fact that Zach wants to bring Lauren into the group because he trusts her a lot. And they talk a lot about how they trust Zach's judgment, how Zach seems very smart. And we'll see. We'll see if Lauren actually gets into that group or not. Catherine and Amy.
Sorry. Thank you. Yeah, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Yeah, but I appreciate the honesty too on like where they're at and like.
So Amy sort of approaches Catherine about working together. As we know, the girls are trying to gather up. Everyone's trying to gather up all of these different alliances that probably by the next couple of weeks are not going to exist. So Catherine does reassure Amy, hey, no matter what, I am not voting you out in any situation. Now, I can't really give you 100% on working together. I don't want to promise you something or say that something's going to happen if it's not actually going to happen. So I would probably have to sit down and think on it a little bit more. Amy, again, she's pushing. I want to be loyal to each other. I really want to try to have each other's backs. I want to try to be there. Kat is like, I believe you, but I just don't know. And I'm like, a little confused because I'm like, Catherine is definitely somebody who doesn't really have a lot of lifelines in the house. I understand that Amy's on the block and maybe you don't want to potentially make something with her knowing that she might go home. But at this point, you're in the early days. You don't really have a whole lot of strong alliances with people. So why would you not say yes? To me, I don't really understand. So then Amy fills in Ashley about the conversation with Catherine about working together. And for her, she does plan to go talk to Lauren eventually. But she says right now at this point, she feels like anyone that's sitting next to Kelly is staying. Again, at this point, it's the belief for Amy, maybe for some other people, that Kelly is out. And that was kind of the original plan. But we shall see. At this point, the only way it is a more 50-50 split is if it is Amy versus Zay, according to Amy. So Ashley talks about how she's not really feeling the 7 to 10 person alliance. And again, cannot blame you. These massive mega alliances are literally, to me, so pointless, so ridiculous. It never goes anywhere. So Amy discusses that she did talk with Jimmy last night and he didn't trust her, but now today they trust each other again. So they are back on better terms. So overall, Ashley wants Amy to tell Rachel because it was her job to tell Amy about this whole sort of alliance thing that's going on. So yeah, Ashley is discussing obviously this truce that was proposed by Jimmy. And for Amy, she's a little bit skeptical about the truce and about being in the truce. Because she's like, okay, so he just wants me in for a number, right? He just kind of wants me in. I'm going to obviously be at the bottom of the barrel. So she kind of hesitantly is cool with it, but she's definitely aware that Jimmy, it's still on thin ice between the two of them. So Morgan has a conversation with Will, and she's essentially discussing how Zay was talking about how he is going for and gunning for and taking out anyone that does not vote for him. For Morgan, she wants to keep Kelly or Amy because at this point, she doesn't really feel like either one of them is going to be going for her next week. At this point, Morgan is also trying to pry into Will and see like, hey, by the way, did Keanu come up to you for an alliance? So at this point, Mickey joins. Mickey lets them know that she really does want to save Amy. And if Amy comes down, she's saving Kelly. She said she's already been very transparent with Zay about it. There's no real reason for there to be any confusion. And then they get into a discussion about Keanu and how messy he is and how he's been trying to dip his toes into everything. Apparently, Keanu approached Morgan about something, but he was saying that he was still feeling her out. So what is actually the purpose of even approaching her in the first place? And again, they're just talking about how untrustworthy and messy we already see that Keanu has been. Ashley and Vince have a little conversation in the HOH about how people are voting, what will happen if it's a tiebreaker. And Vince is a little confused about why everybody feels like Zay absolutely has it in the bag to win the blockbuster, which I think is interesting. Yeah, it has kind of shifted from people thinking that Kelly was solid, Kelly was going to win, to now people think that Zay has got it in the bag. And the reality is we have no idea what the competition is. Last year, a lot of those competitions were mental or they were equitable. So it doesn't necessarily mean that anybody is an immediate shoo-in for anything. So Ashley does talk about how Zay's pitch was pretty convincing. It was very convincing, his pitch for her to, to her to stay, but she is very loyal. Now, she does say that she will take the deal to keep him in over Kelly, and I was like, huh? I even heard it again and I was like, wait, what? So I don't know if Ashley was just saying that to Vince to say it or if she genuinely means that. But overall, they then get back in again to the Jimmy alliance and how they sort of feel about this truce/alliance that Jimmy proposed. Just a lot of talk again about what will happen Thursday, what the possibilities are, who we gonna link up with, etc. So Mickey then does her job to let Will in on the 7-person alliance. Once again explains that they're not going to really meet together. They're not going to be in rooms together. It's way too much, but they're probably going to kind of split off and have conversations occasionally. If they're HOH, none of them are going to go on the block. And they want to keep this for at least 3 weeks. So for her, she lets Will know, look, I care the most about you, Ashley, Morgan, and I do care about Jimmy. He's not as much of a priority, but I do care about him as well quite a bit. So for Mickey, she says next week she does not want to win HOH. She says it's very bad for her game to win HOH. Okay, so she does throw out Zach and Riley potentially going up in the future, next week, or very, very soon. Once again, she remembers that Zach won that $10,000, and I said that. I was like, that $10,000 is going to haunt Zach because there are going to be people that remember that he won the coin. So now that is definitely on the radar for at least Mickey. Will does like Rachel, but he doesn't want her to go too far. And keep that in mind. There is also a secondary group who is really starting to see that Rachel might have power, that Rachel might have pull with people, that Rachel likely is gonna be safe for a little while. And they are definitely starting to pick up that maybe, just maybe, it's a potential to look at them. Are they gonna win it? No. I fully believe that if Rachel is in any danger, that something is gonna be pulled out in order for Rachel to be safe. That's just my personal opinion. They are not letting Rachel go home within the first few weeks. But it is interesting to see that some people are definitely starting to pick up that, do we want Rachel in this game or do we not want Rachel in this game? So Ashley and Mickey have a little conversation about the conversation that Ashley had with Vince in the HOH room.
I observed you doing this. You made it seem like, when I told you this, you made it seem like your time and what you needed done was more important than other people.
And Mickey's like, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, do you want the truth? Do you want my truth or do you not want my truth? Vince is not trustworthy. Look at how many people he had breathing down his back. Look at the fact that he nominated you this week. Keep that in mind. He looked for any little reason to find to put you up. And so you feel like you can trust him right now, but I don't really know if that's the case. So they get into interrupt gate and Ashley is trying to say, I wasn't the only one though. I wasn't the only person interrupting people. So Mickey essentially explains like, look, you had a mini target on your back already with Showergate. Now you made that target even bigger because you were continuously going up and interrupting all the time. So my point is you need to make sure you're not doing things in order to put a target on your back. You need to make sure that you're not doing things to give them a reason. All of these people are looking for reasons, especially in the early days, to put people up. So be careful with Vince. And be careful with him, but also be careful with the way that you're moving. So again, it's clear, Mickey is saying, look, it's very, very clear that Vince didn't really like that. He didn't like all the interrupting, but he is obviously open to working with you. So just keep that in mind. Now, Mickey is talking about how they need to be a united front when it comes to the vote. Again, Ashley said she is very unsure where her personal vote lies. And Mickey's like, well, I don't want you to be the only one. I don't want you to be the only one that doesn't want to vote with the group. I don't want you to be the one person who's odd out. And Ashley's like, oh no, it's not only me. It's not only me. And Mickey's like, who? Ashley's like, oh. Ashley's like, what did I do? She's like, okay, well, do not say anything to anybody, but Jimmy also said that he would potentially save Zay. So Mickey essentially lets Ashley know, look, I'm gonna just keep it real with you. If you don't vote with the group of 8, they might just axe you out and put someone else in. I know that's going to happen. So Morgan is in the room as well. She's putting some laundry away. They ask her, so Zay versus Kelly, who do you choose? For Morgan, she's like, I'll be honest, I'm still pretty unsure myself. Now, Mickey's like, look, I know that Zay would pick the boys over the girls. Just putting that out there. So Ashley, though, is like, I feel like Kelly would not save me, though, and she would put me up. So again, we can see there's quite a bit of disagreement about who actually everybody wants out, especially all these people in these 8-person groups, 10-person groups, 5-person groups, whatever groups. It doesn't even seem like these alliance members are really on the same page about what's best for their, who they want as a unified front. A lot of people are thinking about what's best for their game, and that is good. But then it's causing a lot of this where it's like, where will all the votes lie? We will have to see. Rachel, Morgan, and Amy still going on. Morgan is still going on again about how Keanu was feeling her out, but he chose to approach her, yada, yada, yada. They do get into how strange Keanu is, and again, go back to the situation where Keanu sort of spiraled, overseeing Morgan, taking a walk with Jimmy. So at this point, Morgan says that she's going to take advantage of the fact that Zay respects honesty and respect in general, and just be real upfront to his face about what her actual plan is when it comes to things. At this point, she also lets Rachel know that Kelly feels safe right now, so we're gonna have to see what's going on there. So Morgan points out that Keanu has been rallying the votes for Kelly to stay, and Rachel's like, oh, I'm not worried about that. Oh, I don't care. He doesn't have any power. No one's listening to him. It does not matter anyway. But Morgan does point out that he thinks he does, which is true and is fair. I don't think Keanu has the pull or the reach that he thinks he does. Not at all. Ava and Will, another little conversation, and they both do not want Amy to go home. At this point, though, Ava, does believe that Zay will probably win the blockbuster, so it's best to probably stay on his good side. And again, guys, we don't know what the competition is. There's no indicator that any one person has a higher chance of winning than another, but I digress. Will says that if it is Zay and Kelly, he does see Kelly going home, but for Amy, she says Amy. I keep saying Amy, I mean Ava. But for Ava, no matter what, she is keeping Amy. So Kelly and Jimmy. Kelly, another one who's having a pretty hard time, and we hear a few of these conversations that she has today. Her first one's with Jimmy, talking about how she feels like she's in high school. It feels very weird for her because no one's really talking to her. They're up in the HOH room, and she's saying that no one really talks to her. She's on the blog. No one really wants to look at her. So it's been very, very difficult in general. She says at this point she's actually pretty worried about going home now, and she doesn't really know where Vince is at. Jimmy's like, oh, okay. Well, I worked really hard to keep you off the block. I just want you to know that, I'm sorry to hear that, basically. Jimmy's like, okay, anywho. But Amy, meanwhile, is also crying to Rachel because she's crying about missing her babies. She feels like a lot of people are going to just make safe moves in the house and vote together, and they're not going to actually go out there and be like power players. And I guess she's also getting concerned. And while she says she misses her baby, she also wants to stay here in the house. A lot of emotional. People were very emotional last night. I don't know. So Ava decides that she's going to campaign to Adrian about keeping Zay. Remember, Ava, I don't know. Ava's kind of all over the place. Adrian's like, look, I like Amy personally, but she's kind of close to people that I do not want to win HOH this week. So I don't know. At this point, she claims she wants to keep Zay. Ava, I was like, okay. But Ava is a fence sitter. One thing to know is Ava is a fence sitter because she's telling people that she thinks wants Zay to stay, that she wants Zay here, but she's telling other people that she knows that wants Zay out, that she wants Zay to leave. So keep in mind, Ava is straddling the fence. I don't know which side Ava's planning to say. I think she's planning to just take whichever side is the majority, personally. So Kelly, Rachel, Amy, Ashley, they have a conversation on the hammocks. So I think Kelly's whole point in this conversation was that she wanted to try to smooth things over with the girls. As we know, she's not really in the girls thing or really talking to many of the girls or anyone at this point. So she talks about how she was a former pick-me and how she used to be just very oriented towards that, I guess, the male approval. I'm not sure, but she said she used to be a pick-me. Her wording. So she does say that for her, she wants to be a bit more of a girl's girl here in the house. And for, hey, the girls seemingly take it. They seemingly eat it all up. And particularly Amy and Kelly are able to clear up that neither one dislikes the other. They thought there was something there. So once Kelly leaves, Amy, Ashley, and Rachel are straight up like, oh, we might actually want to keep Kelly if she stays on the block. Keep that in mind. Whole time there was a different plan, but now they're like, wait, should we actually keep Kelly over Zay? Amy is still number one, right? But let's say Amy comes off and it's Zay versus Kelly. Should we actually be keeping Kelly instead of Zay? The plot thickens. The circle goes around and around and around. So a couple of things of note that are not huge deals. Vinny has a final two with Lauren. Possibly they were comparing notes and information and just sharing things with each other. So I don't know if we've officially heard them confirm that, but it does at least seem like they have a close working relationship. Mickey lets Adrian know that she is keeping Amy no matter what. And if Amy comes off, then she is keeping Zay. Keep in mind, some of the other girls have a different plan now. Zach lets Ava and Adrian and Will know that no matter what, he's keeping Zay, but he is still split if it's Kelly versus Amy. Zach and Lauren, they talk about a potential alliance with Kat, Vinny, and Zay, and it was pitched by Zach. He's the one that wants to do this. So Ashley and Mickey, they chat about Kelly being a threat, but they are open to letting her stay this week in order to get out Zay. And remember, that kind of came after the conversation. And then lastly, or no, two more. Zay starts to panic because he catches wind from Adrian that the other side has the votes. And he tells this to Zach in the HOH. They have this long conversation where he's really starting to panic. He's like, oh my goodness, what is going on? Zay was really paranoid. And I found it interesting because all week, Zay was so assured so far that he had the votes. He had it in the bag. He said 100%. So this was the first time he definitely started to say, oh goodness, maybe the other side does actually have votes. And lastly, Lauren confirms to Zach and Vinny that she is keeping Zay versus Amy. She cannot let Rachel have the number since she already played. If there's a tiebreaker needed, then Vinny is voting out Amy. And this is a conversation, like I said, those three are having between each other. So needless to say, everybody is all over the place. Are y'all confused? Are y'all confused? Because trying to read this, I was confused, okay? Trying to decipher this all from the little notes, I was confused a little bit. But it just seems like we have a bunch of different little groups who all sort of have different agendas. I do think that today, Wednesday, is going to be a pivotal day of game talk because I think we should probably be getting things more solidified, but it is definitely giving that people are going to just sort of vote off the cuff. When the blockbuster comes, they're going to just vote off the cuff and sort of go with where they feel like the rest of the people are going. I don't know. It doesn't really give that a lot of people have solid plans yet, and that's why things are all over the place. But if you made it to this point in the video, that means you liked the video, so I would greatly appreciate if you would consider supporting the channel by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. It helps to get the videos out there, and it inspires me to keep creating. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will be back for tomorrow's live feed update. Bye!